Some of the very worst villains in the Marvel Cinematic Universe were actually created by the heroes themselves. The MCU timeline has introduced some of the most iconic villains in modern storytelling, from Thanos to Loki. However, not all MCU antagonists started out as evil masterminds. Some of the most tragic and well-developed villains were created, directly or indirectly, by Marvel's own heroes. Whether through negligence, arrogance, or collateral damage, the heroes of the MCU have left behind a trail of broken people who turned against them. One of the key themes in the MCU's back catalog is that actions have consequences, even for heroes. With reckless decisions, institutional failures, or personal betrayals, some MCU adversaries were not born villains, they were created by the system the heroes built or the damage they left behind. The best villains in fiction often have personal stakes against the protagonists, and in the MCU, few things are as compelling as an antagonist who has a justified grudge against the people wearing capes and armor. 10. Stark Industries destroys Adrian Toomes' business. Spider-Man: Homecoming. Tony Stark may have evolved into a hero, but his legacy as a billionaire weapons manufacturer caused widespread suffering long before he put on the Iron Man suit. In Spider-Man: Homecoming, Adrian Toomes, aka the Vulture, is an example of how Stark's actions inadvertently created new threats. Toomes was a hard-working businessman who ran a salvage company cleaning up after superhero battles. However, when Stark's government-backed damage control took over the cleanup of the Battle of New York, Toomes lost everything. This pushed him into the illegal weapons trade, repurposing alien technology and selling it to criminals. While Peter Parker viewed him as a clear-cut villain, Toomes was simply a man trying to survive after being discarded by the very system Stark helped create. If Stark had handled the situation differently, Vulture might never have emerged as a threat in the first place. 9. The Avengers at the Battle of Sokovia inspired Baron Zemo. Captain America: Civil War. One of the MCU's most compelling villains, Baron Zemo, was not driven by power or conquest, he was motivated by grief and revenge. In Captain America: Civil War, Zemo is introduced as a former Sokovian soldier whose family was killed when the Avengers fought Ultron. The Avengers, particularly Tony Stark and Steve Rogers, never considered the long-term consequences of their battle, nor did they take responsibility for the innocent lives lost. Zemo, having lost everything, meticulously plotted to destroy the Avengers from within, exploiting their internal tensions to tear them apart. Unlike other villains who sought world domination, Zemo's methods were personal and calculated. He didn't need superpowers, just intelligence and a deep resentment toward the so-called heroes who left devastation in their wake. Without the Sokovia battle, there would be no Zemo, proving once again that the Avengers helped create their own enemies. Karl Mordo began his campaign against magicians because of the Ancient One. Doctor Strange. In Doctor Strange, Karl Mordo starts as an ally to Stephen Strange and a devoted follower of the Ancient One. However, his transformation into an antagonist stems directly from his disillusionment with the very people he trusted. Mordo believed in the strict moral code of the Masters of the Mystic Arts, only to discover that the Ancient One, his mentor, had been drawing power from the Dark Dimension, the very thing she warned against. Feeling betrayed, Mordo abandons his former allies and embarks on a mission to eliminate rogue magic users, seeing them as threats to reality. While his methods are extreme, his motivations are understandable. He wasn't born a villain, he was made one through deception and hypocrisy. Had the Ancient One been honest with him, Mordo might have remained an ally rather than becoming another powerful adversary for Doctor Strange to face. 7. Hank Pym destroys Ghost's father. Ant-Man and the Wasp. Hank Pym is known as a brilliant scientist, but his arrogance and unwillingness to collaborate led to devastating consequences. In Ant-Man and the Wasp, Ava Starr, aka Ghost, is left in a permanent state of quantum instability due to an experiment gone wrong. However, the real tragedy is that her father, Eli Starr, was once a scientist working with Pym. After a falling out, Pym dismissed him and ruined his career. Desperate to continue his research, Starr conducted an unauthorized experiment, which resulted in his death and left Ava in a painful, unstable state. Pym never acknowledged his role in the tragedy, and Ava grew up under the influence of people who saw her as nothing more than a weapon. While she was framed as an antagonist, her suffering was entirely preventable had Pym treated his colleagues with more respect and humility. Natasha Romanoff may be one of the MCU's most heroic figures, but her past is filled with dark secrets, one of the worst being the creation of Taskmaster. In Black Widow, 2021, it's revealed that Natasha's attempt to kill General Dreykov resulted in the apparent death of his daughter, Antonia. However, Dreykov secretly saved Antonia's life by turning her into Taskmaster, a mind-controlled assassin with photographic reflexes. While Natasha believed she was doing the right thing, her actions led to Antonia becoming a weapon, robbed of her free will. The twist drastically alters Taskmaster from the comic version and makes Natasha's past even more tragic. Unlike many villains born from malice or ambition, Taskmaster is a victim of Natasha's mistakes. Though Natasha tries to make amends, she inadvertently proved that even the most well-intentioned heroes can create terrifying consequences. 5. Odin neglects Loki after adopting him. Thor. Odin may have thought he was doing the right thing by adopting Loki, the son of Laufey, but his failure as a father set Loki on a path of resentment and destruction. Instead of raising Loki with the same care as Thor, Odin treated him as a second choice, never truly making Loki feel like he belonged. Loki grew up in the shadow of his older brother, denied the throne, and never told the truth about his frost giant origins until adulthood. This neglect fueled Loki's deep-seated insecurity, leading him to embrace villainy as a way to prove himself. His attack on Asgard, his alliance with Thanos, and his invasion of Earth in the Avengers, 2012, all stem from Odin's favoritism. Odin later tries to make peace before his death, which arguably led to Loki's turn to heroism in Thor, Ragnarok and Loki. The Ancient One is praised for protecting the world from mystical threats, but her training of Caecilius in Doctor Strange, 2016, was one of her greatest failures. Caecilius initially sought knowledge to heal his pain, but the Ancient One's secretive nature and hypocrisy only fueled his disillusionment. She hid the fact that she drew power from the dark dimension while condemning others for seeking forbidden magic. When Caecilius discovered her deception, he felt betrayed and turned to Dormammu, believing that an eternal life under the ruler of the dark dimension was better than the Ancient One's lies. His fall wasn't just a result of his ambition, it was a direct consequence of the Ancient One's failure as a mentor. By keeping secrets from her own students, she created a villain who sought to tear down everything she had built, nearly destroying reality in the process.